Listen to me carefully. A lot of women keep asking the same question over and over again. Why do men change? Why do men pull away? Why do men say they love you but still hurt you? Let me tell you something that most people are scared to say out loud. Men are loyal to one thing only, and it ain't always love. Sometimes it's comfort. Sometimes it's ego. Sometimes it's freedom. Sometimes it's peace. Whatever a man values the most, that's where his loyalty goes. A man will always stay loyal to the thing that gives him peace. And most people don't understand how powerful that really is. See, when a man walks through life dealing with pressure, stress, responsibilities, and expectations from the world, he starts craving one thing more than anything else: peace. Not noise, not drama, not constant fighting, peace. A man can be surrounded by beauty, attention, and opportunities, but if he comes home to confusion every single day, eventually his mind starts looking for escape. That's the truth nobody wants to talk about. Now let me explain something. Peace is not about a woman being silent all the time or agreeing with everything a man says. No, real peace comes from emotional safety. It comes from feeling respected, understood, and appreciated. A man wants to feel like he can breathe around you without always preparing for an argument. When a woman constantly criticizes him, embarrasses him, or makes him feel like nothing he does is enough, his spirit slowly disconnects. He may still sit in the house, but emotionally he starts leaving little by little. And ladies, listen carefully, because this part matters. A man who truly finds peace with a woman becomes different. He talks different. He moves different. He becomes more protective, more consistent, and more focused. Why? Because peace gives a man strength. When he feels calm in his relationship, he can fight the battles of the world with confidence. But when his relationship becomes another battlefield, his energy disappears. That's why some men stay loyal for years to one woman while ignoring every temptation around them. It's not always because she's the most beautiful woman in the room. It's because she became the place where his soul could rest. She became the one person who didn't drain him, the one person who believed in him during hard times, the one person who gave him comfort when life became heavy. But let me tell you this too. A mature man also has to bring peace himself. He cannot create chaos everywhere he goes and then expect a peaceful relationship. Peace works both ways. A relationship survives when two people stop competing against each other and start protecting each other from the stress of the world. That kind of peace creates loyalty naturally because people stay where they feel emotionally safe. Respect matters to a man more than most people realize, and a lot of relationships fall apart because this truth gets ignored. See, love is powerful, but respect is what keeps a man emotionally connected. A woman can tell a man she loves him every single day, but if her words constantly tear him down, embarrass him, or make him feel small, eventually something inside him starts shutting off. Men are built differently emotionally. Many men can handle pressure from the world, criticism from strangers, and stress from work, but the place they want relief from all of that is their relationship. Now listen carefully. Respect is not fear. Respect is not treating a man like a king while ignoring your own value. Real respect is how you speak to him, how you correct him, how you handle disagreements, and whether you honor him when he's present and when he's absent. A man pays attention to those things more than he admits. When he feels respected, he naturally becomes softer, more giving, and more loyal because he feels valued as a man. And let me tell you something else. Public disrespect cuts deep for men. A woman joking about her man in front of other people, constantly comparing him to another man, or making him feel weak in front of family and friends can damage the relationship slowly over time. A man wants a partner who stands beside him, not someone who tears him down to gain attention or control. Even strong men carry pride in their hearts, and once that pride gets wounded too many times, emotional distance begins to grow. But respect also goes both ways. A man cannot demand respect while acting careless, dishonest, or irresponsible. Real men understand that respect is earned through character, consistency, and leadership. If a man lies, cheats, disappears, and breaks trust, then he cannot expect a woman to admire him deeply. Respect grows when actions match words. The strongest relationships are not built only on passion or attraction. They are built on two people making each other feel important. When a man feels respected, he starts protecting the relationship differently. He thinks before hurting the woman he loves. He becomes more careful with his words and his decisions because he values the connection. Respect creates emotional security, and emotional security creates loyalty. That's why many men stay committed to women who genuinely believe in them and support them during difficult times. A man never forgets the woman who made him feel respected when the world made him feel invisible. A man will always protect the things he truly values. That's one of the clearest truths about male behavior. And if you pay attention to a man's actions, you can quickly see what matters most to him. See, protection is not only physical. A lot of people think protecting someone only means fighting for them or keeping them safe from danger. No, real protection is emotional, mental, financial, and spiritual too. When a man genuinely values a woman, he becomes careful with her heart, her time, her trust, and her peace of mind. A man who truly cares will think twice before doing something that could damage the relationship. He won't casually risk losing the woman who brings meaning and stability into his life. That doesn't mean he becomes perfect, because nobody is perfect, but it means his intentions change. He starts acting with consideration instead of selfishness. He becomes more aware of how his choices affect the person he loves. Now listen carefully, because this part matters. Men naturally invest energy into what they value. If a man values his career, he protects his reputation and works hard to succeed. If he values his family, he sacrifices for them. If he values a relationship, he gives attention effort, time, and consistency to keep it strong. That's why actions always reveal priorities better than words ever can. A lot of women ignore this truth because they become attached to potential instead of reality. They keep believing what a man says instead of watching what he protects. If he protects his freedom more than the relationship, you'll see it. If he protects his ego more than your feelings, you'll feel it. If he protects temporary pleasure instead of long-term commitment, eventually his actions will expose it. A man can talk about love all day, but what he protects shows where his loyalty truly lives. And let me tell you something powerful. A man who values a woman does not want the world to damage her. He becomes protective of her emotions. He checks on her safety. He worries about her stress. He tries to create stability around her because her happiness starts feeling connected to his own. That's why a man in love often becomes more responsible without even realizing it. But protection also requires maturity. Some men confuse control with protection, and those are not the same thing. Controlling a woman out of insecurity is not love. Real protection comes from care, not fear. A mature man protects a woman's heart while still respecting her independence and individuality. When a man truly values someone, his actions naturally become more intentional, more disciplined, and more loyal because he understands the importance of what he could lose. Loyalty does not happen by accident. Loyalty grows from purpose, discipline, and consistency over time. A lot of people think loyalty is just a feeling, but it's much deeper than that. Feelings change depending on emotions, situations, and temptation. One day somebody feels deeply in love, and the next day they feel distant or frustrated. But loyalty is about what a person chooses even when emotions are unstable. That's why a man without purpose often struggles with consistency in relationships. See, when a man has no direction in life, he becomes easily distracted. He chases attention, temporary excitement, validation from other people, and anything that feeds his ego in the moment. A man without purpose usually lives emotionally instead of intentionally. That kind of man can say he wants commitment, but his actions remain unstable because he hasn't built discipline inside himself yet. But when a man finds purpose, something changes in him. He starts thinking differently. He becomes more focused on his future, his responsibilities, and the kind of life he wants to build. Purpose gives a man structure, and structure creates consistency. A focused man understands that constantly entertaining distractions can destroy everything meaningful in his life. That's why mature men start protecting their time, energy, and relationships differently. Consistency is one of the strongest signs of real loyalty. Anybody can be loving for 1 week. Anybody can act interested when things are exciting. But can they remain dependable when life gets stressful? Can they still communicate during hard times? Can they still show effort when the relationship enters ordinary routines instead of emotional highs? That's where true character appears. A man who is loyal through consistency does not disappear every time things become difficult. He doesn't only show affection when it benefits him. He continues showing care through actions, not moods. He becomes somebody a woman can emotionally rely on because his behavior is steady instead of unpredictable. And let me tell you something important. Women often fall in love with potential while ignoring patterns. They keep waiting for inconsistent men to suddenly become stable without realizing that consistency reflects inner discipline. A man who constantly changes, breaks promises, and avoids responsibility is showing exactly where he is emotionally in life. Real loyalty is built daily through small decisions. It's choosing honesty when lying would be easier. It's choosing commitment when temptation appears. It's choosing communication instead of silence during conflict. Strong relationships survive because two people consistently choose each other, even during imperfect moments. That kind of loyalty only comes from maturity, purpose, and self-control, because a distracted person will always struggle to stay committed to anything meaningful for very long. Real love is revealed through actions, not just emotions or beautiful words. A lot of people confuse talking with loving because words can sound convincing in the moment. Somebody can promise forever, say all the right things, and still fail to show genuine care when it matters most. That's why actions are the true language of love. Actions require effort, sacrifice, patience, and consistency. Anybody can speak from emotion, but not everybody can consistently behave with love. See, when a man truly loves a woman, his behavior changes naturally. He becomes more intentional with his time, his decisions, and even his attitude. He starts considering her feelings before making choices. He wants to make her life easier instead of more painful. That doesn't mean the relationship becomes perfect, because every couple faces struggles, misunderstandings, and difficult seasons. But a man who genuinely loves will continue trying instead of emotionally disappearing every time life becomes uncomfortable. A lot of women get trapped listening to potential instead of reality. They fall in love with what a man says he wants to become rather than paying attention to who he consistently shows himself to be. A man who truly values you will not leave you constantly confused about your place in his life. His effort will answer questions before you even need to ask them. You won't have to beg for basic communication, respect, or attention, because real love naturally produces effort. And let me tell you something important. Small actions often reveal deeper love than dramatic moments. Remembering important details about your life, checking on you during stressful days, listening when you speak, protecting your emotions during arguments, and showing up during difficult moments all matter more than temporary romance. Anybody can buy gifts or post sweet messages online, but real love becomes visible in everyday consistency. Real love also takes responsibility. A mature man understands that his actions affect the emotional safety of the woman beside him. He knows careless words, dishonesty, and selfish behavior slowly damage trust. That's why a man who truly loves becomes more accountable. He apologizes when he's wrong. He works on improving himself. He tries to build stability instead of chaos inside the relationship. Now hear me carefully. Love without action eventually becomes emotional manipulation. When somebody keeps hurting you while asking for endless patience, that is not healthy love. Real love does not repeatedly destroy your peace and then expect words alone to repair the damage. Genuine love produces change, effort, and growth over time. The strongest relationships are not built only on attraction or chemistry. They survive because two people consistently show love through support, loyalty, honesty, sacrifice, and daily effort. That's what separates temporary feelings from real commitment. A distracted man is often loyal to his desires more than his relationships, and that is one of the biggest reasons many connections fail today. See, loyalty requires focus, discipline, and emotional maturity. A man who constantly chases every temptation, every feeling, and every opportunity for attention will struggle to build something stable with anybody. His mind is always searching for the next thing instead of appreciating what he already has in front of him. Now listen carefully. Desire itself is not the problem. Every human being has desires, dreams, attractions, and weaknesses. The real issue begins when a man allows those desires to control his decisions instead of controlling them himself. A man without self-control becomes emotionally unpredictable. One moment he acts deeply committed, and the next moment he disappears chasing temporary excitement. That kind of behavior creates confusion, disappointment, and broken trust inside relationships. A distracted man often wants the benefits of love without the responsibility that comes with commitment. He wants loyalty from a woman while still entertaining attention from everywhere else. He wants emotional support while keeping one foot outside the relationship. And the truth is, no relationship can survive long when one person refuses to fully focus on building it. See, attention is powerful. What a man constantly feeds will eventually control him. If he keeps feeding ego, validation, lust, and outside distractions, those things slowly become more important than the relationship itself. That's why some men lose good women, not because the relationship lacked love, but because they lacked discipline. They became addicted to temporary feelings and ignored the value of consistency. But a mature man learns something important over time. Temporary excitement fades quickly. Attention from strangers fades quickly. Pleasure without purpose eventually leaves emptiness. A wise man realizes that loyalty is not about never facing temptation. Loyalty is about choosing what truly matters even when temptation exists. That's where maturity separates boys from men. And let me say this too. Women often believe they can love a distracted man enough to change him. But change only happens when the man himself becomes tired of living without direction. A woman can inspire growth, but she cannot force discipline into somebody who still enjoys chaos. Until a man decides to value peace, stability, and commitment more than temporary desires, his loyalty will always feel unstable. A focused man moves differently. He protects his relationship because he understands how rare genuine connection really is. He stops risking meaningful love for temporary attention. He becomes more intentional with his actions, his words, and the people he allows around him. Real loyalty grows when a person develops self-control and understands that lasting happiness comes from building something meaningful instead of constantly chasing distractions that never truly satisfy the heart.